Hello? My girlfriend looked at me and said, "My parents don't approve of you. They think I can do better." I didn't argue. I just said, "Go ahead." That night, while she slept, I quietly transferred the lease into her name, shut down her credit card, and walked out without a scene. 2 days later, her entire family was standing at my doorstep. We were in our kitchen, Sunday afternoon, the kind of quiet where you can hear the fridge hum. She was leaning against the counter scrolling her phone, not even looking at me. I had just asked if she wanted to come with me to my cousin's birthday next weekend. Nothing serious, just family stuff. She sighed like I'd asked for something unreasonable. "So, I talked to my parents," she said, dragging it out. "And they don't really approve of you. They think I could do better." She finally looked up, eyebrows raised, like she was waiting for me to argue, or apologize, or beg. I asked what do better meant. She shrugged. "More ambitious. More established. Someone who fits in better with our family." Then she added, casually cruel, "They think you're kind of a temporary phase." That one landed. For context, I'm 31M. She's 29F. We've been together just over 3 years, living together for 2. We share an apartment, split bills unevenly because I make more, and yes, her credit is trash, which is why most things are under my name. At least, they were. I reminded her I paid most of the rent, that I helped her when she was between jobs, that I'd rearranged my life around us. She rolled her eyes. Actually rolled them. "Don't make this about money," she snapped. "My parents just want the best for me. And honestly, I kind of get it." That's when I stopped talking. I felt something click off. Not anger. Not sadness. Just clarity. Like a switch flipped, and suddenly I could see the room for what it was. I looked at her and said, calm as anything, "Go ahead." She frowned. "Go ahead with what?" "With listening to them. If they think you can do better, you should." She laughed, short and dismissive. "Wow, dramatic much?" She went back to her phone. Conversation over. That was it for her. That night, she fell asleep thinking she'd won. Thinking I'd sulk for a few days, and then things would go back to normal. She had no idea that was the moment I decided I was done. I didn't do anything dramatic that night. No yelling. No packing bags in a rage. I kissed her on the forehead like always, turned off the light, and lay there staring at the ceiling while she fell asleep within minutes. That's when I started making a list in my head. Not the emotional kind. The practical one. The lease. The utilities. The credit card she used for emergencies. The car insurance. The streaming accounts. The internet. Funny how many things quietly sat under my name because, at some point, I was being supportive. Around 2 a.m., while she was snoring softly beside me, I slid out of bed and grabbed my laptop from the living room. I didn't rush. I didn't feel shaky. I felt focused. First thing I checked was the lease. 6 months earlier, she'd asked if we could put it solely in her name so she could build credit and feel more like an equal. I'd agreed because I trusted her. Turns out that was the cleanest decision I'd made in years. Legally, the apartment was hers. Next was the credit card, the one I opened when she maxed out her old one. I logged in, froze it, and scheduled a full cancellation. No warning. No grace period. Just done. Then the utilities. Internet and electricity were set to auto-pay from my account. I removed my payment info and updated the contact email to hers. Same with the renter's insurance. Same with the subscriptions she forgot she wasn't paying for. By 4 a.m., everything was disconnected from me except my phone plan, which I'd handle later. I packed quietly. Only my things. Clothes. Laptop. Documents. The watch my dad gave me. I left the furniture. I left the dishes. I even left the stupid throw pillows she insisted we buy. I wasn't trying to punish her. I was just removing myself. Before I left, I stood in the doorway and looked at her one last time. She was curled up on my side of the bed, peaceful, secure, convinced she had the upper hand. I didn't leave a note. I locked the door behind me and checked into a cheap hotel across town just as the sun started coming up. When I finally turned my phone back on later that morning, there were already 6 missed calls. All from her. I didn't answer. She still thought this was an argument. She didn't realize it was an ending. By noon, the missed calls had turned into texts. At first they were casual, almost bored. "Where did you go? Are you seriously ignoring me? This isn't funny." I left my phone face down on the hotel nightstand and took a shower. Long, hot, unhurried. For the first time in months, there was no tension in my shoulders. No low-grade anxiety about saying the wrong thing later. When I checked again, the tone had shifted. "Why is my card declining? Did you change something with the internet? The power company just emailed me. What did you do?" I imagined her pacing the apartment, phone in hand, confusion turning into irritation. She hates not being in control. Always has. She likes decisions when they're hers, surprises only when they benefit her. I still didn't respond. Around 3 p.m., she finally called again. I answered that one. Where the hell are you? She snapped the second I said hello. I moved out, I said. A pause. Then a sharp laugh. You're joking. No. Another pause. Longer this time. Okay, stop. This isn't funny. You're mad, I get it. Come home and we'll talk. There's nothing to talk about, I said. Your parents don't approve. You agree with them. So I stepped out of the way. Her voice hardened. You don't get to just leave. We live together. You do, I corrected. The lease is in your name. Silence. You could almost hear the math happening in her head. Why is my credit card shut off? She demanded. Because it was mine. You can't do that, she said. That's manipulative. I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was predictable. The way accountability always sounded like abuse when it landed on her. I didn't manipulate anything, I said. I just stopped paying for a life I'm not welcome in. She switched tactics instantly. So you're just abandoning me? After everything? Over one comment? It wasn't one comment, I said. It was honesty. She scoffed. You're being dramatic. My parents say stuff like that all the time. You're supposed to fight for us. That was the moment. The exact moment. I realized she didn't see me as a partner. I was a position. A role. Something that was supposed to perform and prove its worth indefinitely. I'm done fighting, I said. You can do better, remember? She hung up on me. That night, she posted a vague Instagram story about knowing your worth and men who can't handle strong women. I ordered room service and slept better than I had in years. She still thought this was about pride. She hadn't even reached the consequences yet. The second day was when the panic set in. I woke up to 23 missed calls, most of them from numbers I didn't recognize at first. Then I saw the names. Her mom, her dad, her older brother. That made me sit up. She hadn't called them to smooth things over. She'd called them to escalate. I answered her father's call on the third try. Son, he said, not sounding friendly at all. We need to talk about what you did. I let him speak. I've learned that people who feel entitled to you will tell on themselves if you give them enough rope. You can't just abandon my daughter, he continued. She's in tears. Cards are declining, bills are piling up, and she says you shut everything off out of spite. Out of spite. Right. I didn't abandon anyone, I said evenly. I moved out of an apartment that's legally hers and stopped paying for expenses that were legally mine. That's not how relationships work. Her mom cut in from the background, loud enough to hear. A real man doesn't punish a woman when his ego gets bruised. There it was. Ego. The word they always use when they don't want to acknowledge disrespect. She told me you don't approve of me, I said. That you think she can do better. A brief pause. Well, her dad said, clearing his throat. We just want what's best for her. Then this should work out perfectly, I replied. She's free to find it. Her brother jumped in next. You're being petty. You know she can't afford that place on her own. That one almost made me smile. So, I said, you agree she was relying on me. Silence. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't argue. I just stated facts. Facts make people uncomfortable when they've built a narrative around entitlement. Later that afternoon, she finally texted again. My parents are furious. Are you happy now? I stared at the message for a long time before replying. I'm calm, I wrote. That's different. Her response came instantly. You blindsided me. You could have talked to me like an adult. I almost replied with something sharp. Instead, I typed the truth. You talked. I listened. Then I acted. She didn't respond after that. At least not directly. That evening, my hotel room phone rang. Front desk. Sir, there's a family here asking for your room number. The clerk said carefully. They seem upset. I laughed under my breath. Don't give it to them, I said. I'll be down. I took my time putting on my jacket. Because when people show up uninvited, it's usually because the power they thought they had is already gone. They were all standing in the hotel lobby when I walked in. My girlfriend was sitting on one of the couches, arms crossed, eyes red but dry. Her mom stood behind her like a manager supervising an employee. Her dad paced near the front desk. Her brother leaned against a pillar, scrolling his phone like he was bored by the whole thing. The second she saw me, she stood up. There you are, she said, sharp, like I was late to something. We need to fix this. I didn't sit down. I didn't hug her. I didn't even step closer. Her mom spoke first. This has gone far enough. You've made your point. I wasn't making a point, I said. I made a decision. Her dad scoffed. You don't just walk away from a committed relationship because of a misunderstanding. I looked at my ex, really looked at her. She wouldn't meet my eyes. You told me your parents didn't approve of me, I said. You said you agreed. Where's the misunderstanding? She rolled her eyes, irritated. You're twisting it. They just want me to be with someone more. And you? I asked. She hesitated. Just half a second. But it was enough. I just think, she said slowly. If you really loved me, you'd want to prove them wrong. That was it. 3 years distilled into one sentence. Love, to her, was performance. Endless auditioning. Me jumping through hoops so she could feel validated by people who never respected me in the first place. Her brother laughed. See? That's reasonable. Step up. I nodded once. I did step up. I paid. I supported. I stayed quiet. And when I realized I was temporary to all of you, I stepped out. Her mom's voice went cold. So what? You're just done? You're leaving her with nothing? I smiled, but there was no warmth in it. No, I'm leaving her with exactly what she said she wanted. The chance to do better. My ex finally snapped. You're being cruel on purpose. No, I said. I'm being consistent. She took a step toward me. So that's it. You're not even going to try? I shook my head. You already decided my value. I'm just agreeing with you. For the first time since I walked in, no one had anything to say. I turned to the front desk, confirmed my checkout for the next morning, then looked back at them. I won't be coming back, I said. Please don't contact me again. As I walked toward the elevator, I heard her mom whisper, he's so immature. And I realized something comforting. People who lose control always confuse boundaries with immaturity. I slept peacefully that night. She went home to an apartment she suddenly couldn't afford. And this was only the beginning. The silence lasted about 12 hours. That's how long it took before reality started leaking through the cracks. I was halfway through breakfast at a diner near the hotel when my phone buzzed. A notification from the electric company confirming a past due balance had been transferred to the account holder. Another from the internet provider. Then one from the property management portal confirming a missed payment reminder. All her. She called again. I didn't answer. Then came the texts. Not angry this time. Strategic. We need to be adults about this. You can't just leave me with all of this. I never said I wanted to break up. That last one almost worked. Almost. I finished my coffee, paid, and walked outside before replying. You said I wasn't enough, I typed. You don't get to renegotiate that now that it's inconvenient. Her response came slower this time. My parents didn't mean it like that. I stared at the words, then locked my phone and put it back in my pocket. I'd spent too long translating for her, explaining her intentions, softening her words so they didn't sound as bad as they were. Around noon, her brother tried again. Man, he said, forcing a laugh. This is getting blown way out of proportion. It's proportionate, I replied. You're just finally feeling it. She's freaking out, he said. She didn't think you'd actually leave. There it was. The truth slipped out without even realizing it. I know, I said. That's the problem. By the afternoon, mutual friends started reaching out. Carefully neutral messages. Hey, just checking in. She's really upset. Maybe you two just need space. Funny how space only becomes important when the person who gives the most finally takes some. That evening, I went back to the apartment one last time, not to see her, but to grab the rest of my documents from the safe. She wasn't there. The place felt different. Smaller. Quieter. Like a stage after the audience leaves. On the kitchen counter was a stack of unopened mail. Bills. Notices. Things I used to handle without thinking. I took what was mine and left the rest untouched. As I locked the door, I realized something that surprised me. I didn't feel guilty. Not even a little. Because guilt is what you feel when you've done something wrong. And all I'd done was stop pretending I was okay being someone's backup plan. The third day was when the story started changing without me doing anything at all. I woke up to a voicemail from her, the first one I actually listened to. Her voice was softer now, strained, like she'd been crying but didn't want to admit it. Hey, I'm not trying to fight. I just need to understand how you could do this so fast. 3 years doesn't just disappear overnight. I didn't call back, because 3 years didn't disappear overnight. It dissolved slowly, comment by comment, eye roll by eye roll, until there was nothing solid left to hold. Around noon, I got a text from a number I hadn't saved. It was her aunt. Apparently, this had turned into a family-wide situation. I think you're acting out of hurt, she wrote. But hurting her back won't fix anything. I stared at that message for a long time. People love to frame boundaries as punishment when they benefit from you having none. An hour later, the landlord called me. Not angry. Confused. Hey, he said. Your ex called saying you abandoned the apartment and stuck her with everything. I didn't abandon anything, I said. The lease is in her name. I moved out. He sighed. Yeah, that's what I told her. Apparently, she tried to imply I was still responsible for half the rent. Apparently, she'd learned very quickly how alone she actually was in that argument. That evening, she texted again. Longer this time. I didn't mean what I said the way you took it. My parents get in my head. You know that. You always said you loved me for who I was, not my family. Why is this suddenly a deal breaker? There it was. The rewrite. I typed, deleted, typed again. It's a deal breaker because you didn't defend me, I finally sent. You agreed with them. No immediate reply. When it came, it was shorter. I just needed you to fight for me. I read that sentence until it lost meaning. Fight who? Her parents? Her doubts? Her contempt? How many battles was I supposed to win just to be tolerated? I didn't respond. Later that night, a mutual friend called and said something that stuck with me. She really thought you'd cave, he admitted. She's never seen you walk away from anything. That's when I realized this wasn't just about money or pride or her parents. It was about precedent. I had always stayed. And this time, I didn't. 2 days later, her whole family would show up at my doorstep. But at that moment, I finally understood why. They weren't coming to talk. They were coming because something they relied on had quietly removed itself. They showed up on the 4th morning. I knew something was off the second I opened my apartment door and saw 4 people standing in the hallway like they were about to stage an intervention. Her parents, her brother, and her. She looked exhausted. No makeup, hair pulled back tight, angry and scared in equal parts. Her mom spoke first, forcing a smile. We just want to talk. No, I said calmly. You want to fix. Her dad bristled. Don't be disrespectful. I leaned against the doorframe. You're on my time now. Say what you came to say. My ex stepped forward. This has gone too far. I can't pay rent this month. My card is maxed. The utilities are piling up. This isn't fair. There it is, I said. That's the issue. Her brother scoffed. So you're really going to let her drown to prove a point? I shook my head. I'm not letting anything happen. I just stopped preventing it. Her mom folded her arms. You always were selfish. That one didn't sting like she thought it would. Interesting, I replied. You had no problem with me paying for everything when you thought I wasn't good enough. Silence. Her dad cleared his throat. Look, we may have been blunt, but relationships require compromise. I compromised for 3 years, I said. You wanted me to compete for basic respect. I declined. My ex's voice cracked. So what? You just disappear? After everything? I looked at her, really looked. For the first time, I didn't feel pulled toward her at all. You told me I wasn't enough, I said. I believed you. That broke something in her. I didn't think you'd actually leave, she whispered. I know, I said gently. That's why I had to. Her mom opened her mouth to argue again, but her dad raised a hand, stopping her. He studied me for a long moment. You're serious, he said quietly. Yes. Another pause. Then he nodded once. Then I suppose this is done. They left shortly after. No apologies. No closure speech. Just the sound of footsteps fading down the hallway. I closed the door and felt lighter than I had in years. Not because I'd won, but because I finally stopped playing a game I was never meant to win. The aftermath was quieter than I expected. No dramatic texts. No surprise calls. Just a slow trickle of consequences I didn't have to participate in. A week later, I heard through a mutual friend that she'd moved back in with her parents temporarily. That the apartment was already listed again because she couldn't qualify on her own. That her parents were suddenly very invested in helping her restructure her finances. Funny how quickly opinions change when theory turns into responsibility. She messaged me one last time late one night. I miss how safe things felt with you. I stared at that sentence longer than any of the others. Safe. Not loved. Not respected. Safe. I typed back exactly once. Safety isn't supposed to come from someone you look down on. She didn't reply. That was the real ending. Not the fight. Not the move out. Not her family showing up. It was the moment I understood that I'd been valued for what I provided, not for who I was. And once you see that clearly, there's no going back to pretending it was love. I didn't block her. I didn't need to. Some people don't need walls. They just need distance. The funny thing is, I don't feel bitter. I feel relieved. Like I finally put down something heavy I didn't realize I was carrying. Tomorrow, I'll tell you what happened when I ran into her months later. After everything had settled, after the dust cleared, after life moved on without either of us waiting on the other. That part surprised me the most. I ran into her about 4 months later at a grocery store near my new place. I almost didn't recognize her at first. Same face, same posture, but something was missing. The confidence she used to wear like armor was gone. She looked smaller, quieter. She froze when she saw me. "Hey," she said after a beat, forcing a smile. "Wow, I didn't expect to see you." "Yeah," I said. "Me neither." We stood there awkwardly between the produce and the dairy section like two strangers who shared a past life. She asked how I was. I told her I was good, because I was. She told me she'd moved back home, that she was resetting, that things were complicated with her parents now. Apparently, having opinions is easier than having obligations. Then she said something that stuck with me. "I didn't realize how much you did until you weren't there anymore." I nodded. Not bitter, not smug, just neutral. "I know," I said. She waited. For reassurance, maybe. For me to soften it. For me to say it was okay. I didn't. After a long pause, she asked quietly, "Do you ever think we could have worked?" I thought about the kitchen, the fridge humming, her voice saying she could do better. "No," I said honestly. "Because I would have kept shrinking, and you would have kept expecting more." That was the first time she didn't argue. We said goodbye. Polite. Final. I walked out with my groceries and felt something I hadn't expected, gratitude. Not for the breakup, but for the clarity it gave me. Sometimes people don't leave because they stop loving you. Sometimes they leave because they finally start respecting themselves. And once that happens, there's no lease, no credit card, no family opinion strong enough to make you move back in. Bye-bye.